Thank you, Vivian, Nicholas, and Ruby, for inviting all of us to this fantastic event. And I'm very, very happy, and I feel lucky to be a part of the whole crowd here. And I'm especially proud of all the Bangladeshi architects who are here to energize the Basel environment with a kind of different kind of thoughts. I also think that the way in which we look at architecture and the way we share our architectural thinking in the manner that we are doing right now is not very sympathetic to the idea of architecture. I think to understand the whole aspect of architecture is to go ahead and be a part of the environment, looking through images. It only gives you sort of an excuse to understand architecture, maybe perhaps a possibility that a way forward. But to truly understand the essence of architecture, I think it is unfortunately you have to be in the environment. Otherwise, it gets difficult because we are human, a miracle at birth, and we don't need to be told and taught and shown how things are around us. We know it. But the modernity, the mind of modern mind sort of tells us what is square and what is circle and what is not. And I think as an architect, I spend many hours behind my desk thinking about what would be my next move. And I believe in the action of life, and my work literally is, I hope, that it connects to the directness of thing. I don't challenge any mind. I don't think it's very respectful to challenge other minds through techniques, knowledge. We have 60 billion neurons in our mind, and we are all very informed. We can soak things in a manner that we are designed for. I will go through the slides. I have not seen these slides since I sent it to Vivian. I asked her this morning, can I look at the slides one more time? And I went like 10 of them. And I said, okay, maybe I can talk about it. I'm confident at what I do, but I'm not confident of what I'm going to show right now. But this is the first slide is a map of the world, the geography, and it pixelates the way we inhabit the environment. And I wouldn't say we're any different. We just differentiate by having to have that idea of I'm a Bangladeshi and Nicholas is a Swiss and XYZ. But end of the day, when you look from the very top of things, we are Homo sapien and human being, and we can relate in a very simpler ways. This particular image is the sky, which is the common ground for all of us. And I think I believe in that commonality, and from that I get inspired, and I hope that my work will resonate to the simplicity of things, and it speak of a place that I am right now a part of, which is Bangladesh. This is, and I'm glad a lot of the Bangladeshi images are already being printed in the exhibition, also right before me, so I'm not going to dwell too much on how Bangladesh looks. It looks just like here, maybe a little soft. This is a map of Bangladesh. It's literally that green, and Dhaka is in the center of that place. So a little dot. I don't want to play with this too much. The little square is the Dhaka where I'm from. This is a map I produced just before I came, and I sort of take images of the city, and I sort of pixelated it. It shows many events, good, exciting, sad, to be and not to be. Also, images are here. It is like an island. It's a graphical interpretation of the city. And when you look close to that city, well, I'm baffled how to take this. It's like a bull with pointing horns toward you, and And I think Kazi is right. I'm that Opu from the Satyajit Ray movie, with confusion and sort of a determination. So, and when you get close to the streets, and it's still it's difficult to navigate because it changes. It's very amoebic. The city is made out of hard concrete and whatnot, with all the gadgets that you may have here as well, but still very, very difficult to understand. The neighborhoods are neighborhoods, but again, it might not be. It might be neighborhood yesterday, might have been, tomorrow it might be something else. So it's changing rapidly. So you often look upward to be inspired. And there are certain buildings that inspires me the most, is that where my senses gets nourished and to be told that I'm okay. It's okay to be taking the challenge. The city, Dhaka, is also a city that you don't need a television. As a matter of fact, it can guide you, entertain you, and it can gives you a sensory charge where you could ponder and reflect for years on, and may not understand what you may have seen in front of your eyes. A city is very loud. It literally grinds you to pieces. So you're never in one self. You could be an architect, but at the same time, you have to be everything. So you sing a song, you write poetry, you draw buildings, and you also yell at people to navigate to your everyday little things. With the progress of things, I also get very much touched by the filth that we have produced, and at times, it's a survival of the fittest game, and we see things, but we don't want to see that. We imagine beautiful things, we ignore, and we sort of bypass, thinking that this one will pass because there's always the sun behind the cloud. There are immense amount of disparity. There are people who are below your human eye line, but they're there. The city, if you come to Dhaka, you will be shocked to see the kind of disparity we live with, and we made it all very normal. We think that's okay. It is not okay, at least not in my book. So my work is sort of directly looks at all this as a pixelation. I look at the dreams, and I look at shattered dreams. I see people who makes life out of nothing, and inspires me to be an architect hopefully for the right things. These are little images of everyday life. I was just talking to this particular person, and I asked him about this box, how long he had it. I wish I had a close photo of it. He has been using since 1970, this little toolbox he has, and he did not let go of it. It has a fantastic collage of things. And I could directly relate to his box, because I, as an architect, don't see things in totality or in a whole. I see things in bits and pieces. I don't think that XYZ axis work for me. I think that that things that comes in pieces and in bits kind of defines my definition of everyday life. I believe in simplicity and everyday living. Here is an image where it shows how the city sort of blends in toward the edge of it. So this is the threshold between the rural and urban, and it shows the fragility of our thinking and our acceptance and our understanding of our own culture, and the way we look at our ways about creating architecture. And then beyond all that, there's beautiful images. These are not too romantic. These are real. So we have this mustard field that goes miles and miles, and then we have these millions of ponds mirroring the whole landscape, and sometimes they become sort of a pawn for the village. Sometimes they become the marking of the landscape. Sometimes they become a reflection to the whole universe above it. So I learn. What do I learn? I look at things that are ingrained. The slide to the left is a mud wall with a rice grain. And Anna probably knows way more than we do regarding that kind of using the sort of natural element to create architectural material. I look at the sidewalks of Dhaka, which is the centerpiece here, and the wall that is part of one of my projects, perhaps. And I also take information from the given. These little things that I see in the nooks and crannies of Dhaka are a great source of information for me. I truly think my work is very much a reflection of what I see and what shows me. Two little shops. Really, what the left one is a 10-inch deep on the wall, and that's his life. That's if he doesn't open the shutter and remain within the 10 inches of wall, his life is shuttered down. And I think it puts me in the right place to be informed and educated and privileged, and also makes me sort of humble and reminded of the world that I should be careful of to interpret through my work as an architect. This is my first project. I'll talk about. I don't have a title of my presentation as I'm looking at things, so I'm talking. My background, my grandparents are from the old part of Dhaka, where you are sort of pushed through little alleyways and overlap of history, multicolored things. And you go there, you measure yourself, you find your 5 fingers, and you understand that how you tackle this foreground. I also think architecture is a co-creation of something in between. It can never a singularity. It's always a part of something. It's part of the city fabric. So I'm sort of. These are the ways I go back into my studio and I look at my work as a collage maker, where I put myself, say, it's a very typical architectural thinking. Perhaps, how do you really understand the edge that you live with? How do you understand the sun that you live with? And how do you really understand the invisible structure that you have to live with? I'm also very much, without saying, get excited about the environment that I'm from and the seasons, and I believe I'm that Vitruvian man who plants the seed, like all of us here, all the architects, all the Bangladeshi architects, who we are planting the seeds just like the farmer over there, and hoping in due time the right crop will come out. And we are hoping that 200 years from now, or maybe 2000, this is a digitized world, that we will see ourselves, how we have done the homework and how we have left behind a good marking for future yet to come. So my project, first project, is a very, very small sort of a insertion in the old fabric of Dhaka. The image on the left is what was given to me, a 2-story building, and then I had to add a little facility of storage for paint and manager's quarter on top. And if you look at the building from closer, from distance, it's very, very difficult to find because it blends in. And every cut and every stab on the surface of the building, from within or from outside or from inside, it has a reason. And that's not that I was trying to put those marking, but the project was screaming or asking for those marking. So the project has fantastic windows that, for me, that shows the world outside, and it's confusing, but it's framed. So if you wanna know about it, you can always go down and find for yourself. But I thought the building should have some kind of parameters where the architecture allows you to contemplate what is ahead of you, allows you to understand the depth that you are part of. You walk through the city and you see things that are given, and you bring that into architecture. So the relationship of something left from the perhaps from a couple hundred years, one slide, and that how you can somewhat translate into your own work. You look at a door and you see that your door is just an extension. So this is what my door is. So it's sort of it transformed from given to what I think is more appropriate. I also think, I don't draw with computer. I can write emails, but I don't draw with my computer. I'm okay with my pen, and I was questioning, why am I like that? Why is it that I'm not too pushing myself to be efficient with the gadgets? But I think, when you work with materials, when you see materials, the team that you're going to work with, they cannot read what I draw in computer. They rather see things from their point of view. So having to sit down with them and having to come up with the details with the tools that they're used to, for me it's easier. So I literally go and spend time with people who are I think my bloodline for being an architect, the craftsmen. And in the end, I hope that my little architecture offers room for newcomers, young kids who can sit down and playfully enjoy the space and perhaps wants to be an architect down the road. I don't know. I don't distinguish this too much from the garbage. It's a dictionary term. There's no garbage in the world. You have to live with it. So how do you translate that? So it is something that you see in the street, something that you find in a metal market, and you translate that. You allow people to sit down. You see things on the side of the wall and bring that into your work. You see elements that have been cherished by 1,000 years, and you interpret that. So I transform my work. I try to find lights under the ashes. I find little detail. Curiosity is something that drives us very, very profoundly. We are curious about anything and everything. I think that curiosity is also very much a part of my everyday practice. I do little things. I'm not a big I'll be very scared to do a big building like Ehsan Khan was doing. I do little things. I think I try to find elements that excites people. This is a very small window. It's about 100 centimeter by millimeter by 100 millimeter, but it shows a neighborhood garden that has 100-meter depth. So I think that small window is good enough. I collage my work from what I see from the city. I look at things that grows naturally. I share that into my own work through the sort of cultivated garden. I don't like straight lines. As an architect, we are well trained, so I try to break lines. You see, you understand, you transform, and you give it a different language. There is a room, it needs more air, so that's what you do. You punch holes on the wall, you push the ceiling up, you change the color of the floor, you bring some material, and gives you a certain kind of happiness. And I'm an architect who believes in the happiness for the most part. And you find a corridor, you find 4 rooms, you find a whole bunch of people working with you, and you transform the space into something that allows you to think that it is a room for me or for all of us to sit down and sort of appreciate not architecture of what's been presented, but through the presentation of who you are and how you think for the future. Again, some collages, looking at the delta through my pen and paper and scissors. So we have an enormous amount of water in the country. We have bright sun. But very, very sadly, when you come to Dhaka, you don't really get to see the sun in your house because it's so cramped. Sometimes the density does not allow you to enjoy what is in abundance. So when I was asked to design a residence, first thing I said that, well, this house cannot be just a house with walls around it and cannot have sort of specific doors and windows. So the house is at once, it's a pavilion again, and it's inside and outside, and it's just asking and so answering what is required. So in the particular slide, it's looking from outside and looking from inside, and there is this kind of liquid space that connects you no matter where you are in the space, and you are always part of the outside or inside. This sky's the limit. So what do? You bring that in. You bring that into the core of the house. You need some shades, you need some shadow, you need some green. It's only required. So you blend in all that, and you go back to the history of the local practice, and what Andreas was saying, that he saw the modernity didn't kill. We're not there to kill, but to connect. And I think he's absolutely right. I wholeheartedly believe that without the grandpa's photographs and the photo album, I cannot show my album to my grandkids. You have to have that bookend understanding of who you are. By standing alone, it's not architecture. I disagree. So in my work, you will see a certain kind of language which is very traditionally embedded, and also it's looking toward the future. And I believe in tactility of things. I believe in things that you have to be a part of. Your body is the architecture. It's not the building. So your body needs to connect. So you have to work with things. So all the windows and the catch hooks, which is that thing, they're all locally produced, and you connect that. They might not be super fancy, but they work. And it comes to shove, you have to change them. And it leaves you a lot of bubbles, a lot of eye drops or tear drops or wishful thinking on the material that you leave to rot. And I was very touched to go to the Dimuron project, the rehab center, and I saw his railing and I saw the warmth of the wood, and I said, maybe we're in a good track. This is how it is. And then you need a room to sit down and chat, and this is one of the room in that one project. It opens up, and you can shut it down. It has the checker flooring, which is very much goes back historically in the modern architecture, and so I brought that into my work as well. And in the end, I said, well, it's not what you see out there. It's already what you see or what you have inside of you. You just have to sort of understand yourself. You have to engage with yourself. Your perception has to be hopefully close to what it should be. And you have to have a deep engagement with yourself to see the world, and you have to live with the belief that it should be all right. Thank you.